Good morning, this is Faith at Faith and Books. I'm doing this in wet hair. I'm just going to do a real quick update because I didn't get an update over Easter weekend. And then I'm going to talk about breaking up with Amazon because I've been following just a little bit the strike down in Alabama. And, as booktubers, I think we should be concerned with this. It's a social justice issue. I don't hear anybody talking about it. But anyway, let's see. I'm just going to do a review of what I've been reading and what I've started reading, which is it's going to be kind of redundant. I feel like I keep hearing people talk about maybe Midrash, but I feel like I already did my Midrash during Lent. So let me recap what I've done. Okay, so I finished this, The Brothers Karamazov. I finished this April 1st, so I was a day late. It took me forever to finish it. It was kind of anticlimactic, even though it's such a powerful book, and it's a really, really great book that has so much to it. But I felt like I didn't do it justice at the very end, and I was not able to participate in the read-along discussion that the hosts of the read-along were doing. That was Christy from Dostoevsky in Space, the Codex Cantina, Peg at the History Shelf, and Victoria from the Musical Bookworm. I couldn't make it that night. But even so, even if it was sort of anticlimactic and I didn't end the book with a bang, it really, it was just in there simmering and percolating, and it's really powerful, and it stays with you for a long time. So I'm still processing it, and what really helped me process it was the book Dostoevsky's Incarnational Realism by Paul Contino, and I finished that April 5th. So what's today? Is today Tuesday? So yesterday, I finished it yesterday morning. Was that right? Or was it? I can't remember. Maybe it was the evening of April 4th. No, it was the day after Easter. I'm mixing up my days. Anyway, that's not important. The important thing is that this book was such a great guide for me. He's coming from a Catholic perspective, and Dostoevsky was a Russian Orthodox and rather anti-Catholic. But there's enough of there's a lot of overlap in their spiritual outlook. And so it's really quite accessible for other Christians. And so I think that you have to read this book as a religious book. I think people who read it and don't come to it from that perspective are going to miss it. They're going to miss the whole thing. They're going to focus on the Grand Inquisitor or something like that. They're not going to get what Dostoevsky was really trying to do. And the book, Dostoevsky's Incarnational Realism, really helped. It's theological. I know I missed a lot of it because it was out of my depth. And I don't know if I agree with everything that he was saying. I feel like some things Contino was saying was a little bit of a stretch. Could have been maybe because I didn't understand. But he pulls from scripture. He pulls from classics like Dante's Inferno. He pulls from lots of philosophers and Aquinas and Augustine. So it's a really profound analysis, I guess is what I want to say, of this book. And I found it very, very helpful. It made me want to read more books about Dostoevsky and how other people have interpreted the Brothers Karamazov. And I discovered that I think he was an archbishop of the Anglican Church, Rowan Williams. I know I've heard the name and I've seen it, but he wrote a book about Dostoevsky. And I would really love to explore that one day. That would be really neat. So that was a big accomplishment. I got this done. I started in February. I got that finished. I read the Incarnational Realism book along with it. I read this for Holy Week. I just finished it yesterday morning. And this is, very slight. It's a collection of articles by this great biblical scholar, but it was really good too. So it really all came together. These were really good books to be reading during Lent and then over the Easter weekend. I also finished this. This way I don't need to do maybe Midrash. I've been doing a lot of religious reading. Um, and this is an encyclical by Pope Francis about social friendship, about how to get along with other people in the world on a global level, how we should be trying to restructure society so that it promotes human flourishing, all kinds of stuff. So I finished reading this, and I was asked, and I don't know if it's going to happen, but I might lead a group read of this at my church, which will be really interesting. I've never done that before. They said that there's a guide that they can give me, but that'll be really interesting. So if that happens, that'll be neat. So all that, oh yeah. And in the Contino book, Dostoevsky's Incarnational Realism, at the end of the book, they have an essay by, I don't even know who it's by. They had an essay at the end of the book. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. Oh dear. Anyway, they had an essay at the end of the book, and they talked about this book, Laurus. I knew this book was a spiritual descendant of the brothers Karamazov. Laurus by Eugene Voldolatskin. And they talked about it in the essay at the end of the book, how this really, is just a direct descendant. So I really want to read this book, but I don't think I'll get it done in April. So I'm hoping May I'll be able to read it. I hope somebody will. I would really want Christy from Dostoevsky in Space to read it with me, because I think she'd really appreciate it. I think I'm gonna, Christy, if you watch this, or even if you don't, I'm gonna invite you to read this with me, maybe in May, or whenever you can do it. But I really, really want to reread this book. And then I've been doing the Bible in a Year with Father Mike Schmitz, and we finished the book of Joshua and Judges, and today we just started 1 Samuel. That is a really amazing experience that's also going on. So there's just a lot of religion. So I think maybe in April I'll go a little more secular. I started reading this again. It's just wonderful, just wonderful. Yeah, so I'm excited about it, and it's a lot to read. That's how far I've gotten, can you tell? And that's how much more. And I would really like to get this done in this month, if I can. I don't know. It's a lot to read. I have like 800 pages to read or something. And then I did start the Thomas Jefferson book, An Intimate History. I bought this used. And here's the person. She has lovely handwriting. And she went through, this is a nice hardback. So I never write in hardbacks. But she did, she's doing vocabulary words. Like, what's this word? Abstemious. Temperate, she writes. She was quite beautiful handwriting. Here we go. Ambivalences, she looked that up. Simultaneous attraction toward and repulsion from. That doesn't seem like a very good definition. Anyway, this does seem interesting. I've just read a few pages though, so I don't know. I have problems with Thomas Jefferson. I guess a lot of people do. I've been to Monticello several times in my life. I'm from Virginia. He was a big Virginian. But, the more it came out about Sally Hemings and all that stuff, the harder it was to like him. And then last summer, was it just this past summer? I've lost track of time. But I did a buddy read with Alba of Seriella of John Adams, and I really adopted Abigail Adams' attitude towards Thomas Jefferson. She grew to really dislike him. She was charmed by him at first and impressed, but then the more she got to know him, the less she liked him. And I sort of agree with her. So we'll see. Maybe this will help me, regain some sort of respect for Thomas Jefferson. I mean, I have some respect because he did write seminal things, but there was a lot to not like, too. Now, they're reading, this is the book I'm reading, but then I think the guy who's starting the presidential read-along, Ramsey is his name. It's called Rajathon, I think. He has a Discord page. But I think he discovered that this book by Fawn and Brody, Thomas Jefferson, Intimate History, I think I said Intimate Life in another video, but it's an Intimate History. It's not on Kindle or audiobook, so they're reading something else by maybe Beecham is the author's last name. So they're doing that if you're going to read it on your Kindle or audiobook. But I'm reading this one, so I guess it doesn't matter as long as you're learning about reading a biography of the history of a president per month. You're participating in it, in the presidential read-along. Anyway, so those are my two big goals for April, and I've started on them, and I had wonderful reading over Easter. But now I want to talk about something else I'm reading on my Kindle, which is ironic because Kindle, of course, comes from Amazon. But I decided it was poetic justice because I'm trying to break up with Amazon. I don't know if I'm doing it in the most, conscientious way or informed way. For instance, I started buying stuff from Target instead of Amazon. I have no idea if that's any better. I don't want to do Walmart. So I have been, like, if I do have to order something online, I've been trying to go to Target. I've been trying to buy used book from Faith&books. I think I'm going to start trying to use the library more. So I'm trying not to buy books from Amazon, except the last book that I'm allowing myself to download on my Kindle is a book called Fulfillment, Winning and Losing in One Click America, I think it's called, by Alec McGillis, I think. And it's about how these global corporations like Amazon and Apple and Google are basically taking over the world. And they're not, it's not good. It's not good for us. And there's a huge growing disparity between the very rich and everybody else. And it's due to these global, mammoth, incredibly wealthy, mega companies. And we've got to do something about it. And I want to support the workers at Amazon. And I know a little bit about this just anecdotally because the woman who lives with us from Cote d'Ivoire, she was visiting a lot of people who fled Cote d'Ivoire. They're kind of having their own diaspora because if you don't know the history of Cote d'Ivoire, they had kind of a benign dictator when they broke away from the French and established their own, republic. But he was president for life, and he was good at economics, so he really sort of made it more stable than comparatively to other African post-colonial countries. But he was a dictator. And when he died, there was a civil war, and things just crashed, and it's really hard to get work there, and there's lots and lots of political tension, and they have a huge younger population, and there's no jobs, and there's no security. It's very corrupt, and kind of mafia groups kind of run things, and the police are incredibly corrupt. There's no justice. You have to bribe people if you want any justice at all. There's no recourse, really. So, so a lot of people that are like the people who have a little bit of money and can get here are leaving. They're going to France or other countries, and they were actually coming here. A bunch of them wound up in Ohio working for Amazon. So she went to visit them. And, they're being exploited. It's better than being at home where it's jobless and there's, corruption and everything, but they're being exploited by Amazon. And then she herself works for Facebook, and Facebook does the same thing. They hire all these immigrants that have no recourse, and while they do pay them better than, if they were back in the old country, it's very exploitative. These companies are not, and they're trying to be like these moral guides for us, and they're going to not let certain people post, or they're not going to sell certain books and all that stuff. But they are not good. They are not good in and of themselves. So they practice lots and lots of very unethical things. They care about the money, bottom line. And the only reason why they're trying to be, politically correct is because they see it as financially the smarter move. But they don't care. They really don't care. So I don't want these big mega corporations setting the moral tone for our country. I don't trust them. And I think that we need to stand up and do something about it. And so I really want to support the people in Alabama who started this strike against Amazon. So the last book that I downloaded on my Kindle, because of course I love my Kindle, right? Because I'm old, my eyes are bad, and I get insomnia, and I love reading. from my Kindle at night. But what I've decided to do is I'm going to try really hard to avoid getting anything new from on my Kindle. I did download this last book that I'm reading, which is all about how evil Amazon is, which I think is poetic justice. But then I think what I'm going to do is maybe just reread things or read things that my husband downloaded previously, so I don't have to buy anything new. Or there are things you can get for free. I might do that if I need to resort to it. I still haven't figured out how my library works. It's so complicated. I just couldn't wrap my mind around it, so I don't know how to get ebooks from that. But I don't know, I'm thinking of, I've also been ordering books from Barnes & Noble if I need to order a brand new book. And maybe I should get a Nook. Does anybody have a Nook? Or what's another way you can get ebooks that you can read in the middle of the night without using the Kindle? I would really like to know that. I've stopped buying from Whole Foods. Now my husband does go occasionally, but I've pretty much stopped buying from them. And I've noticed that they're not what they used to be anyway once Amazon bought them. Amazon, you know, Jeff Bezos or whatever owns the Washington Post now. He moved into this area. Amazon bought all this property in Alexandria. They wanted to rename the area. They didn't like the name that it had, which is Crystal City. I used to work over there. It's kind of a neat retro area. It's very 1940s, 1950s looking with these big concrete buildings. They have an underground shopping mall, and it's lots and lots of military there. Anyway, yeah, I just can't stand the arrogance, and I don't trust these people. So I want to break up with Amazon. I'm trying to. And I encourage everybody else to maybe think about it at least read up on the issue. And, you know, if there's a way that you can respond, you know, any little thing helps. Any little thing helps. So, all right, so it's 17 minutes and I better get going. It's cold out here and my hair is still wet. Anyway, I hope you are doing well and happy reading. Bye-bye.